Recording has started, I believe, so that's good. So welcome everybody. I'm just going to do some formal introductions with a welcome statement and then just sort of give you a more warmer welcome as we go into the conference itself. So we've got a short statement on respect and dignity that we read at the start of all of our events at LSBU, which I'm sure is echoed by our partner organisations. Everyone attending or speaking at an LSBU event, whether in person or virtually, should be treated with respect, dignity and courtesy. LSBU operates an environment built on equality, inclusion and acceptance. We value contributions, feedback and comments and wish to create a space for sharing, learning, celebrating and bringing communities together, which is the purpose of today. We will not tolerate any form of bullying, abuse, harassment or discrimination. As HCPC guidance states, you must all use all forms of communication appropriately and responsibly, including social media and networking sites. You must make sure that your conduct justifies the public's trust and confidence in you and your profession. And I think that is no more important, it's just so important these days that we get that right and that tone right. Inappropriate behaviour will be treated seriously and acted upon. Anyone exhibiting any example of this behaviour will also be removed from the webinar. We want this event and our future events to be an enjoyable, safe and warm experience for all. So thank you in advance for adhering to these guidelines. So that's my official bit. This is my unofficial bit, but I've been asked to give a welcome and I'm really pleased to do so. It's the first BME Street AHP's What's the Word on the Street event. I love the title. I was trying to think of some funky word to go with it, but I thought I'd probably best avoid that because I'd get it wrong. But I'm sure you're in for a good morning that will hopefully inspire, frustrate, motivate, innovate, and take us further down the street of seeing a truly reflective workforce of our London and wider demographic. It is hard sometimes to know where to start, and these two quotes resonated with me as I thought about welcoming you today. Bell Hooks said, "The point is not to render ideas less complex, but to make the complex clear." And a similar version of the same quote from Ruth Wilson Gilmore, who says, "We need to think theoretically, but speak practically." So I can relate to this in my own household. I like to share stories of my life. My daughter and my 9-year-old grandson are moving to Thailand for 2 years in 6 weeks. So for those of you who know me, you will know that this is quite a big deal for me. My gorgeous Isaiah is my inspiration and my motivation for much of my passion for equality and justice and equity, along with my own internal values. So I'm having sleepless nights, thinking really theoretically about what is ahead, the complexity of the move. She's a single mum, so she goes alone with Isaiah. The dangers, the opportunities, the distance in particular. To be honest, I'm quite paralysed by the enormous change that's about to happen in our lives. My husband, however, loves them equally, and he does as much as I can in thinking about what's going on, but he also thinks practically. So what he did this weekend, he received the best accolades, the biggest hugs, the biggest thank yous, because he bought them a massive pack of adapter plugs. So I think that sort of demonstrates where we are really with this challenge that we're facing. It is a big task. It can be overwhelming, it can be difficult, but I think we can be really practical in our response. So, and for me, thinking about them having adapter plugs, which means that the phones will be charged up so that I can actually speak to them, is actually something that really needed to happen to make a big change in our lives. So I hope that we can think deeply together and get truly practical to see long-lasting change ahead. So I hope you have a really great session. I'm able to stay for most of it, so I look forward to having the conversations and working with you. And I'm going to pass back to you, Yin. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rachel. I really appreciated your sharing, and good luck to your family as they move on to the next big adventure. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up my slide deck right now, and yeah, here we go. So we've had our program overview. Thank you very much again, Rachel. for doing the opening remarks. I will be introducing the BME Street AHP teams and the project. My team members will be presenting the following parts on scoping review findings, student voices panel, and the relevance of our project to the current landscape of AHP education and our workforce. And we have closing remarks by Thomas, our HEE AHP Workforce Fellow for London. Yep. And feel free to tweet about our lunch. If there are any sound bites that, stand out to you, any quotes that stand out to you, let us know, by using the BME Street AHP's hashtag. Okay. So, yep, just let me get my introduction up. A lot of people have been wondering who are the BME Street AHPs. Yeah, we are a collective that of current and future AHPs from BME backgrounds, and we would we're trying to focus on research intended for BME communities. And this is our maiden project, sorry, hopefully not the last. And our project team is tiny for now. This is the skeletal crew that have been working hard to get this project off the ground. We hope with future projects, our collective would have expanded further as we get to know more people across the 15 AHPs. Now, you'll be hearing from the rest of my teammates later, except for Kalima, as she had personal commitments to attend to. So you will get to know them when they speak or as we go along with the project. I thought it would be good to start by addressing our BME Street AHP's name. Now, as is typical when trying to put a name on initiatives with race and ethnicity as a focus, there is a lot of debate around what terminology to use. And we are aware of ongoing critique around the terms BME and BAME. Sometimes people pronounce this as BAME. Yeah, but after careful consideration of all the terms, we decided to go with BME, where the M stands for minoritized and not minority. Now, minoritized was chosen to recognize that there are situations where the minority can hold systemic power over the majority, like historically in plantation complexes, where the majority of people on plantations were enslaved and the white slave owners were in the minority. So we also chose BME over BAME because some people and institutions tend to restrict BAME to Black and Asian people only. And we also wanted to include minoritized people who might not fit neatly into the Black, Asian, or white categories, like Romani people, whom the 2021 UK census classifies as white, but who can trace their genealogy back to India, or Arab people, whom the US census classifies as white. And why BME and not just minoritized ethnic? The rationale for this is something along the lines of why people in the US suggested the term BIPOC, BIPOC, as an updated alternative to POC, people of color. There's a lot of debate around that term as well, but what I wanted to draw your attention to is that the term BIPOC was updated from POC to highlight the historic oppression faced by Black and Indigenous people in the United States in relation to slavery and colonialism. So BIPOC in that sense is supposed to stand for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. But similarly to BAME in the UK context, there are also people who take it to mean Black and Indigenous people of color only and excluding other people of color. So it's complicated. Now, to discuss indigeneity in the UK is out of scope for today's session, but we can still recognize the historic oppression faced by Black persons through the history of slavery and its implications for the systemic oppression of descendants of the enslaved today. Hence, it makes sense for the B to remain highlighted. And highlighting the B is also a nod to the concept of political blackness. This is a term very specific to the UK and it's fallen out of use, but it's worth recognizing that the British Black Panthers encompassed Asian members who rejected the model minority troop, and political blackness was intended to represent solidarity among racially minoritized communities in the UK with shared experiences of discrimination. And that's quite a few minutes just on the term BME alone, and this shows how complex racial justice work is. And let's get to the term street. Now, let's see in the chat, where do you think the street in this picture is located? This is one of my wedding pictures, by the way. I'll give you a few seconds to tell me in the chat. Okay, I can't see whether there's anything coming in the chat because this is full screen. Tom, is there anything happening in the chat?
We've got not a clue, or we've
Sorry,
also got
that wasn't very helpful.
No, it's fine. I don't know where it is. And then we've got central London, We've got Italy.
Okay.
Yep. Carry
Yeah.
on.
No, you said somewhere?
We said Italy, central London. I'm trying to look at, the car license plate or the traffic
Okay.
lights, but yes, I agree. It's
tried
also
that
very
as well,
challenging.
but yeah.
All right, yeah. So these streets were actually taken in my home state of Penang. This street is in Southeast Asia, it's not in Europe. And when I showed these pictures to a Vietnamese friend in the Netherlands, he was like, I know this looks like Europe, but we know it's not Europe because of the motorbike. Now I'm trying to get, yeah, here it is, the motorbike. And here's a better view of the motorbike. Yeah, it's very common to see these motorbikes in Southeast Asia, but not really in Europe. And what are European buildings doing in Southeast Asia, right? I mean, I'm sure everybody would know, the British colonized a lot of Southeast Asia, or well, Europeans, including the British colonized a lot of Southeast Asia and left a lot of things behind, including buildings not designed for our weather. There's a lot I can say about how people are still living the effects of colonialism today, but that's out of scope for today's session. But I do think it's important to note that the NHS has historically benefited from British colonialism with the import of migrant health workers from British colonies and former colonies. And as a present day version of these health workers, I am from a former colony, as you can see. I relate to the word street in the metaphorical sense. Because when people from BME communities talk among ourselves, sometimes we discuss about how outwardly we inhabit the same physical plane as our white counterparts, but the way we experience the world is very different, almost as if we inhabit a different world or live on a different street. We basically came up with this name through brainstorming session involving BME people from working class communities in London, where someone used the phrase, "What's the word on the street?" in relation to our project. And it resonated with me because it was like, oh, yeah, that's like us living on a different street from our white counterparts, the BME street. And that's how the word stuck. It was a collective decision to use the word, but as we have learned in a discussion about race ethnicity terminology, a specific term can mean different things to different people. And a respected colleague whom I've worked with brought this to my attention, that some people may regard the term as derogatory. So I discussed this again, with people from working class BME communities. And someone asked me, what's wrong with the word street? I call myself street. And then I realized that this looks like what we call in social justice work, reclamation or reappropriation. Where a controversial term gets reclaimed by people from the group for which the derogatory meaning is intended. And we see reclamation happening in various aspects of social justice, like the use of the word mad in the context of mad studies, or queer in the context of the LGBTQIA community. But I think what's important to keep in mind is that reclamation is a complex process that often involves mixed feelings, and that context matters, particularly that of group membership. So take this incident where Black rapper Kendrick Lamar invited a white woman on stage, on a concert to sing along. Now she sang the N-word that was part of the song lyrics, and the rapper stopped her and told her not to use the word as she was not Black. So it's important to remember that there are lots of contextual factors that can affect how a specific term is perceived and the reaction it elicits, such as the nature of the term itself, the social environment we're in, who uses this term, the relationship between the user of the term and the target audience. So while we use BME Street AHPs to refer to ourselves, we would really urge caution when applying the terms to others, especially if you're not a member of these communities. Now, about the project, we aim to investigate how people from BME backgrounds studying in London have decided to embark on careers in the allied health professions. And you've seen these statistics on our Eventbrite, and it is our hope that the research we do through this project will help contribute towards an AHP workforce that better represents the diversity of London's population. Now, we acknowledge that diversifying the AHP workforce will involve more than just understanding how people from BME backgrounds get into the professions, and we're also mindful of the legal implications of encouraging people of BME backgrounds to participate in environments dominated by whiteness. An activist friend of mine is often approached by people asking him to give them advice on how to diversify their organizations, and he tells them it's really simple: stop doing racist things, make it a space where BME people feel welcome. And I agree. Now, all of us working on this project are also actively working on other aspects of racial justice within our professions and, broader in the health professions. But it's not possible for us to do everything everywhere all at once. So while working on this project, we have to focus our efforts within the scope of what we were commissioned for. So how are we going to do this? This project is going to run through 4 work streams, and we're now in work stream 1, setting up our advisory groups and community loop, and we will explain later how you can be a part of this. Work stream 2 will involve a comparison between White British. Hi, I am back. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
sorry, I lost
We-
connectivity for a moment. And yep.
We lost you at just when you started to talk about the survey, Jiayan.
Oh, okay. Yep. Let me try to move backwards. Oops. Where am I now? Okay, the survey. Yeah, here we are. Okay. Yes. So work stream 2 will involve a survey of factors influencing students' decisions to choose the AHPs as a career, where we compare between white British.
Sorry, Jiayan.
Yeah.
You stopped sharing your screen.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Let me get that up. Mhm. Okay. Yep. We're back
got
up.
you.
Yes.
Perfect.
So this survey. Well, we'll be looking at factors influencing students' decisions to choose an allied health professions career, where we make a comparison between white British and BME populations. Then we will conduct focus group, where we will elicit perspectives of current AHP students, from BME backgrounds, where we're basically going to be discussing, the survey results. And work stream 4 will involve the ethical dilemma case, where we engage perspectives of people from BME backgrounds who have considered enrolling into an allied health professions program, but decided not to. And finally, we want to ensure that all participants, because we want to ensure that all participants in this research project will be fairly compensated for this contribution. So all the survey participants in the work stream 2 will be given the option to attend an exclusive workshop on preparing for professional practice in the health and social care, and be entered into a raffle to win hard copies of, our principal investigator Anita Atwal's book, Preparing for Professional Practice in Health and Social Care. Accountability is very important to us. Accountability towards people from BME communities and the allied health professions communities is very important. So that's why we have set up a website as a community looping mechanism to keep the wider communities we belong to in the loop about updates. Now I'm going to stop sharing the screen and pull up the website. Hang on. So, and then I will put the website link into the chat as well, so you know what's going on. Yeah, give me a moment. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Yep, here we are. So this is our community looping website. Yeah, we have aligned our terms of engagement in our community loop with the HCPC standards. So hopefully this will be easily understood by everybody in the AHP community. And, you can get more details on the website later. And we also have, done our best to ensure that our website aligns with GDPR standards. So in order to sign up to a community loop, you will need to input your email address into the form field first, and then you set up an account, to access the community loop. And this is known as a double opt-in. So I'll just show you how it works. I will put in one of my email addresses here. And then you have to click to agree to receive updates. You're not a robot. And then you register. And then after you click this, you will have this community loop button. And then you will click here. And then you can complete your registration process. So put in your username, your password, and such. Yeah. And this will bring you into our community loop. So you will also receive an email So please check your emails for a message from us and click the link to approve your sign up, because that's the only way that, because of GDPR, that's how, you would be setting things up so that you can actually receive email updates from us.